when you put out any sort of content about your game online, whether it's screenshots or whether it's gameplay or anything along those lines, you're sort of at the mercy of the internet, and you sort of want to see what people are going to respond to, whether it's positive or negative. Hopefully it's positive. But we put out the screenshot a while back of the TV room, among other screenshots, and there's lots of wonderful comments, and I was really happy about that. But one of the comments that I saw a couple of times was people talking about how greasy this pizza box was. Something I hadn't noticed, so I went back and I checked it. It was a very greasy pizza box. Maybe Sam's into deep dish pizza, who knows? But I'm glad we didn't change it. I'm glad we kept it just as gross as it always was. I like it.
For a long time, the kitchen was not going to be mid-renovation the way that it is. And it's one of those things that I think that necessity, a production constraint, actually made this part of the house better than it would have been if we could have just done whatever we wanted. Because for a long time we were like, okay, it's just going to be a kitchen, and so we're going to need a bunch of food, which we ended up making, and we're going to need a bunch of appliances, and we're going to need a bunch of, utensils and a block with kitchen knives in it and all the kind of stuff that would be in a kitchen. And at some point we just realized we didn't have the bandwidth to, of all the rooms in a house, the kitchen, I think, has the most just one-off unique thingies in it, because there's all these kitchen appliances and stuff that appear nowhere else in a house. And so at some point we just realized it wasn't going to make sense for us to try to portray that in a literal way. And so I just had the idea, what if I just tore the place apart, and the cabinets were sitting on the ground and the counters were laid up against the wall, and it's an old house, and maybe before the family moved in the kitchen hadn't been updated since the 50s, and so they decided to redo the kitchen, and they're in the middle of that when you get here. I think that that's hopefully more visually interesting than playing it straight would have been, and B, it allowed us to make this feel like a believable space in a way that we just wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
So I'm Sarah Argidale. This is my salad dressing, named for my experience with being in Russia and that being what everyone knows me for. I studied Russian in college, and I lived there for about a year, teaching English when I finished school, and it was a cool thing that happened in my life. So I am a reader of the Idle Thumbs podcast, and I guess that's how I met everyone at the Fulbright company and kind of inserted myself into their lives. The Gone Home team, the Fulbright team, was nice enough to put a little token in the game for me, and it's pretty cool.
Definitely the second half was where a lot more of the emotional weight in the character came out, and that was a lot to handle, but a lot of fun to do too, because I've really not gotten to do a character that actually was so, I guess, emotionally real and so human. It's you're not doing some commercial selling you thing, or not doing some sort of sci-fi fantasy world sort of story. It was very realistic and very relatable, and you sort of realize that the character's someone that you could know or that you could have been, when you were younger, which I really liked. It was very exciting. The whole experience has been really good.
Oh, you found an Easter egg!
Who found it?
You found it! This is the best! You looked up! No one in a first-person game looks up!
Because there's no rewards to looking up.
Because it's hard to look up.
Also, you weren't allowed to look up in,
Wolfenstein? And Doom, I guess. It shot higher if there was an enemy higher.
Oh, yeah.
If you go get something recyclable from the recycle bin, I made it so that when you throw it way further than a normal thing. And you can knock the basketball out of the rafters and then carry it to Sam's room. And then when you make a basket, either by just throwing it through or by dunking,
you get a present.
You get a present, which is pictures of our cats showing up on the television.
And cats that we know.
Cats and friends of cats.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
And we also we did a final wrap up, like a pickup voice recording session with Sarah Grayson, and we just went in there to re-record a couple of lines because we wanted to go a different direction with them after we had put them in the game and listened to them and everything, and we had some extra time, and it was like, what are we going to do with this extra time? And we didn't know, and then we were like, we did want to make an Easter egg. What if you just reread one of the audio diaries, but instead of words, you said meow? And she was like, okay.
If you say so.
So we went back in.
Game
and
as
she was
hell.
a champ.
Yeah.
And did it perfectly. And
did not break face.
No, and Josh, our audio engineer, I think, just had no idea what the hell was going on.
He was kind of off. It was good shit.
And yeah, at the end of the audio diary, when you make the basket in Sam's room, you can hear from outside the booth us starting to laugh before the audio cuts off.
It's a beauty.
Yeah, no, Easter eggs are fun, and again, congratulations for looking up.
So that was probably the hardest one we had to record. It was part of the second batch of recording we did, and so I had the script a few days before we did the recording to kind of read through it all and get a feel for where the story was going. And then we'd met for lunch to go over everything and see if I had any questions before we went into the studio. And I just right away admitted, like, yep, some part of this script here, like, I will be honest, one of these totally had me crying, like, straight up, totally couldn't help it. Figuring, like, yeah, I had my cry out, it was good, I'll be fine, get to the recording, it'll be great, get it out of your system. And as soon as, like, I read the first word, I was like, no, oh God, I'm gonna start crying again, it's gonna be great. I'm like, hey, I'm a professional voice actress in the studio, I'm going to totally bawl all over your lines, and it's going to sound ridiculous and terrible, and we're going to have to do the take again, and it's going to sound even worse, because now I'm crying. So it actually ended up being one take. Really it's cathartic in a way for me, I think, because it's really, how do I put it? It's really me talking to, like, specific people. I knew it was going to happen again. I knew it. It's the stupid writing being so on point. Which is definite praise for the character build-up at this point, because I just become so connected with her, and making those parallels all the way along. And then you get to this point where it's like, I know exactly how you feel. Like, I know exactly what you're going through. I mean, it was completely authentic. I mean, I've enjoyed people commenting on the connection they've had to the emotion that's in the character. And this is always the diary I think of, because it's the one that it most got me.
Lonnie had her going away show with her band tonight. She's so incredible on stage. When she was singing, I could practically forget everything. That we only had 48 hours left. That I don't know what comes next. That I can't live without her. Then she dedicated the last song to me. I couldn't take it. I was out on the curb in the alley, sobbing till my ribs hurt. I would follow her anywhere, Katie. But I can't. Where she's going. After a long time, she found me. She said she was sorry. She said, "I wish things could be different. I just wanted to make you happy." I said, "I don't think you can anymore."
I'd already played through the first full half of Gone Home before I started composing any music, which was really important to understand how the game felt and played and looked. But I didn't get a build of the complete game until I'd already been delivered the Part 2 audio logs, and then ended up not playing any of the second half of the game until it was fully complete and I'd written all the music. This wasn't originally my intention, but it meant I ended up fully immersed in Sam's story, essentially to the exclusion of all the other subplots of the game, which were not accompanied by specific music. I don't know if that was objectively the right call or not as the composer, but it definitely made me feel very connected to that character. I probably heard Sarah delivering Sam's story dozens or maybe hundreds of times over. It also meant I didn't actually know the literal implications of the ending of Sam's story, so I was imagining all kinds of potential endings that ended up being a lot darker than what you see when you finally do reach the attic. So as a player, when I did complete the game, I was pretty relieved.
Really early on, I thought it would be, like, something that I thought would be engaging about Gone Home would just be finding notes and scraps in unexpected places and being able to, like, you know, zoom in really far and find something that's tucked away in someone's pocket or whatever. And yeah, finding a note that was in someone's pocket that had gone through the dryer, I thought would just be a cool image. And so we were always going to do this, and we ended up making it this specific note from Lonnie to Sam, which it wasn't this for a long time.
Yeah, we had a few different go-rounds.
It was the one that's in the garbage can in the garage was here for a long time, and this one didn't exist, and there was no note in the garbage can in the garage. But yeah, I think that this note, this is I think the last note that went into the game.
It was really late.
And like the last new content, you know, that went into the game, because we did our final like pre-release playtest, and there were people that were kind of like, I felt like Lonnie's decision came out of nowhere at the end, and you know, I was like, why, you know, why is that? And I think it's because Lonnie had never gotten to say her piece, you know, right. and never gotten to have that moment of saying, I wish things were different and I want to be with you and I don't want to have to go away. But we've just made the assumption that that's how it's got to be. To give you some context for her, when she actually had to confront it, saying like, you know what, I can't live with it being that way. And so this was her chance to speak just from her own perspective about why she felt like she had no choice in the matter. And then what she was deciding against when she, you know, changed her mind when she finally had to like ship out. We didn't really give Kate very specific direction for this. She gave us some reference for us to approve and everything, but when we put it into the game, again, not a request from us at all, looking at the struts and the shape of the windows and how it's this sort of deco metal structure with water outside of it, I was just like, welcome to Rapture.
Oh, I know, it's so true.
It almost feels
really
like an intentional reference, if only it were intentional. You want to talk about this fucking jazz mug?
Nobody wants to talk about the jazz mug.
Well,
it's
except
the
for
worst.
Carla.
I hate it. It's the worst.
that was such a common theme when we were like approving assets or making stuff visually for Gone Home. Is just like, oh my god, that's hideous. I fucking hate it. We're putting it in the game.
Yeah,
because like
so
just like awful '90s furniture and like
we see it in a secondhand store or like
or you
just
see it in the
internet,
Sears catalog
like,
we bought, and it's just like there's so many fucking
oh,
ruffles on it. I want to puke. Like the wicker furniture in Mom and Dad's room.
Right.
It's like that's fucking hideous.
We need it.
Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow.